For 30 years, we've known these fighters as sprites, as polygons, as button-controlled legends living inside an arcade cabinet. But this sneak peek asks a brutal question that instantly changes the tone. What happens when the pixel turns to flesh? And the trailer doesn't answer with an explosion. It answers with something quieter, something smarter. We fade in from black, and the first thing the movie wants you to feel isn't hype. It's a heartbeat. Slow, heavy, human, like the world itself is bracing for impact. Then the camera creeps in on Ryu's glove. Not shining, not hero clean, not cosplay perfect, weather-beaten, torn, dirty. The leather looks used like a battlefield tool, not a costume piece, and right away the message is clear. This isn't Street Fighter but live action. This is Street Fighter as a survival story. The narrator calls it out. This is a declaration of war against the campy adaptations of the past. And that's not marketing fluff, because the entire opening is designed to prove one thing. Texture matters. Grit matters. Real sweat matters. This glove is practically a character introduction by itself. Look closely at what the trailer is doing here. It's using an object to rewrite Ryu's identity. In older versions, Ryu is discipline, focus, the wandering warrior. Here, the glove implies something harsher. He hasn't just trained, he has survived. That's a different kind of story. And the edits reinforce that shift. We smash cut to Ken in the rain. Not glamorous rain, not romantic rain. Rain that feels cold, heavy, relentless. Then we jump to Zangief pulling a tractor, syncing his step with the beat like the film is saying, these aren't cartoon bodies, these are monsters built from meat and pain. This first act is short, but it's loaded. We're being told this world is physical, this world is brutal. And when the fights come, they won't feel like choreography, they'll feel like impact, because the opening hook isn't just nostalgia, it's transformation. It's the promise that the legends you grew up with are about to become something more frightening and real than you expected. And then, the trailer locks the image again. Freeze frame on the glove. Stitching. Dirt. Damage. A scarred relic. Like a war flag before the war begins. That's your first clue about the stakes. This isn't just about winning. This is about what it costs to even step into the arena. Now here's where the sneak peek makes its smartest move. It doesn't try to convince you with lore dumps. It convinces you with environment. The narrator calls out the difference between the old and the new, sprites to flesh, and the visuals back it up by putting these iconic characters into spaces that feel almost uncomfortably real. We get that split contrast, Ken's movie shot versus classic Street Fighter artwork. It's basically the trailer saying, yes, we know what you remember, but then it pivots. Now watch what it becomes. And then comes the chill. Sir Bison's entrance. Bathed in electric blue and crimson neon. Ominous artificial lighting that doesn't feel like a normal room light. It feels like a lab, or a fortress, or a place where human warmth doesn't exist. The narrator labels it psycho power. That's not just fan service terminology, the lighting itself is telling a story. Bison's power isn't natural, it's technological terror. Cold, controlled, manufactured. If Ryu's glove is survival and raw spirit, Bison is the opposite. A villain made of systems, neon, and dominance. And that's where the broader world context clicks into place. Street Fighter has always had this global tournament energy, but this trailer frames it like a modern myth. The natural warriors versus the artificial empire. Then we get the montage. Dalsim, Honda, Cammy, each introduced through a micro-environment that grounds them. Honda isn't presented as a goofy, big fighter. He's glistening with sweat in a sumo ring, stripped of vanity. You can almost smell the heat and muscle in that frame. Cammy is resting in a European back alley, casual, quiet, but lethal like a coiled spring. And then the trailer gives us a visual thesis statement. Vega. Porcelain mask, perfect beauty, placed in a dirty, underground environment. That contrast is everything. It tells you what the director is aiming for. Heightened characters inside a gritty, neo-noir reality. The fantasy isn't removed, it's anchored. Because the problem with many video game adaptations is simple. They treat game logic like it's automatically cinematic. It's not. You need weight, you need atmosphere. You need a world that feels like it would exist even if the camera wasn't filming it. This sneak peek understands that. It's building a reality where the fighters aren't just icons. They're people shaped by their environments. Rain, underground grime, harsh neon, sweat, concrete shadows. This isn't arcade brightness. This is street-level violence with mythic skill. And the stakes start to feel bigger than a tournament bracket. Because when the world looks like this, when the villain is framed like a neon nightmare, you're not just watching fights, you're watching the collision of two philosophies. Spirit versus domination. Discipline versus control. Flesh versus machine. This is where the sneak peek shifts into its main weapon, the roster. And it's not using the roster for hype alone, it's using them to show the scale of what's coming and the tone of how it's being told. Ryu and Ken feel like the emotional anchors. Ryu is introduced through the glove, survivor energy. Ken is introduced through rain, raw intensity. It's a subtle but powerful contrast. Ryu feels like internal control. Ken feels like external pressure, like the world is forcing him into a moment he can't dodge. Then comes Zangief with the tractor. Pull visual. One of the most aggressive reality checks in the whole sneak peek. Because in a game, strength is numbers on a move list. In film, strength has to be felt. Seeing Zangief moving machinery turns him into something almost mythic, like a human tank. Now bring that back to Bison. The trailer calls his lighting ominous, artificial, and that's the mid-trailer clue. Bison isn't just a villain with power. He's power as a system. Psycho power isn't just energy, it's control. It's fear turned into technology. That framing suggests a deeper conflict than fighters enter tournament. It hints at an empire that harvests fighters, uses them, breaks them, or turns them into symbols. Because if the natural warriors are being contrasted against a cold technological terror, then Bison is the threat that turns the tournament into something darker. Recruitment, experimentation, exploitation, maybe even war by proxy. Then the trailer flexes style. Whoosh transitions through Dalsim, Honda, campy. It's fast, but each shot carries a mood. Dalsim feels mystical, almost eerie. Honda is physical and raw. Campy is quiet danger. Vega is beauty with a blade hiding underneath. And the genius of Vega's shot is that it's not telling you Vega is pretty. It's telling you Vega is obsessed. The porcelain mask in a dirty underground setting screams symbolism. Perfection trying to exist in filth. That's character psychology in one frame. Which brings us to the burning question the narrator literally asks. How do you translate anime physics to live action? Because Street Fighter isn't realistic combat. It's mythic combat. It's gravity-defying kicks, sonic booms, flash kicks, moves that should look ridiculous if filmed wrong. The trailer's answer is clever. Don't remove the magic. Give it mass. Make it heavy. Make it violent. Make it feel like bones can break. And you can feel the film preparing you for that shift. The characters are larger than life, but the world is grounded. That contrast creates tension. It makes the impossible feel dangerous instead of silly. So, by the time we reach the mid-trailer escalation, the roster isn't just a look who's here montage. It's a warning. This is global. This is serious. And everyone on this board is either a weapon or a target. This is the chapter where the sneak peek earns its confidence because it shows you a moment that could have destroyed the entire movie if done wrong. Chun-Li. We slow down the spinning kick sequence, and the narrator basically invites you to judge it. It defies gravity. Yes, but notice the impact. And that's the key. The move isn't filmed like floating ballet. It's filmed like violence with purpose. The camera language suggests weight, the sound design implies force. The motion reads like a human body pushing beyond limits instead of a superhero gliding through air. That's the biggest reveal of the sneak peek. The movie is embracing the iconic absurdity of Street Fighter, but translating it through realism techniques. More grounded camera choices, more tactile lighting, more brutal sound. So even the magical moments feel like they belong in a gritty world. Then we hit Guile's flash kick and those neon club fight scenes. And now the aesthetic becomes undeniable. Deep purples, striking pinks, neon edges, like the film is paying homage to the arcade cabinet glow while adopting a modern stylized violence approach. The narrator says, John Wick-style cinematography. And you can feel why. Not because it looks identical, but because it uses the same philosophy. Fights as art. Clean composition, dramatic lighting, controlled chaos. Not shaky cam confusion, not bland daylight brawls, but a visual identity that makes every hit look like a story beat. This is where the trailer's pacing ramps up. The quick montage of impacts isn't random. It's a statement. This isn't a game movie pretending to be cool. This is an action movie that happens to contain icons. And the stakes tighten. Because once you've proven the action can work, once Chun-Li's physics can work, you unlock the full potential of the franchise. The moment the audience believes the magic can land, the film can go bigger without losing credibility. That's why Bison's neon terror matters so much. Because now the promise becomes terrifying. If the hero's impossible moves have weight, then Bison's psycho power will feel like a nightmare. Like the cold, artificial lighting is hiding something beyond human scale. And in a movie like this, the real climax isn't a single explosion. It's belief. It's the moment you stop doubting and start thinking, this could actually be epic. Now, right when the trailer risks becoming too serious, right when it could lose the playful DNA of Street Fighter, it pulls off the perfect trick. The logo appears and the narrator says, and just when you think the trailer takes itself too seriously, a wink to the faithful. Then we see it, the car smash. To a casual viewer, it's just chaotic action, an iconic moment of destruction. But to anyone who grew up with the series, it's not just action, it's history. It's the legendary bonus stage. And that's not a small Easter egg, that's a trust signal. It's the filmmakers saying, we respect the roots, we're not embarrassed of the game. We're upgrading it. Then the screen fades to black. Silence. And two words appear that feel like a generational echo. You win. It's almost emotional because those words were never just text. They were a feeling, a reward, a moment of victory after struggle. And placing them here, after grit, neon terror, heavy choreography, turns them into a promise. This movie wants to make the audience feel that victory again, but in a new form. The narrator seals it. Street Fighter 2026 doesn't look like a video game movie. It looks like a martial arts epic that happens to star gods among men. So what does that imply for what's next? Here's the theory. This isn't just going to be a tournament story. The trailer keeps using war language. Declaration of war. Challengers have arrived. The fight feels real. And Bison is framed as cold technological terror. That screams bigger stakes. Control, dominance, exploitation. Which suggests a structure where the tournament is either a front for something darker, a trap designed by Bison, or a battlefield where fighters become symbols in a larger war. And with the roster being so global, the story can easily turn into a world-spanning conflict where each fighter's style is not just a moveset, but a philosophy. Discipline versus rage, beauty versus brutality, honor versus domination. Finally, the outro hits with the release date. October 16th, 2020, not coming soon, not vague. A direct promise. And after decades of mixed attempts, that might be the biggest shock of all, for the first time in a long time. Street Fighter looks like it belongs on a cinema screen. Not as a joke, not as a meme, as a fight myth. A martial epic. The stage is set, the challengers are here, and the real message of this sneak peek is simple.